Hello, hello. Hello, hello. Welcome to Leap Taken. I'm Mika here at Leap Taken. I talk about all things witchy, craft related, law of attraction, manifesting, esoteric, and everything else in between. I just washed my hair here. It's doing something different. Feels flatter. It's weird. I don't know how I made my hair like this. I think it's the water. Anyway, hello. So this is my witchy review, and we're going to talk about this book, Witchful Thinking by Celestine Martin. Okay, heads up. I love the book. I enjoy the book. Um, this is a really good book, actually. So it's in the paranormal rom com category. And I love the book. So I got this in a Barnes and Noble haul. And, I knew I wanted something. I don't know, I wanted something a little different. And I also wanted Black characters. I wanted to hear from that perspective. And the author, as you can see here, is also a Black author as well. And why is that important? Sometimes you just want to hear stories told about people, similar to you. I read a lot of books, and most of them, honestly, are not told from a Black point of view, Black characters. And yeah, sometimes I want to hear the descriptions of my characters being described as Black. And when you're as someone who is writing herself, you want to, I don't know, you want to hear that. You want to see yourself um, in these characters. What makes this even more special, and why I'm kind of really excited about this book. I stayed up really late reading the rest of it. Hi, Olivia. I stayed up really late reading the rest of this book is because it's also romance, and that's kind of a theme, a thing I'm doing right now where I want to have a little bit more romantic elements and things like that added into, I guess, aspects of my life. So that's one, and two, one, I love a good paranormal fiction. Let's just start there. I usually go murder mystery. There's no murder or anything like this. This is strictly paranormal romance, and it's set in a magical setting. So the world that the book is set in is magical. Things that go bump in the night exist. Witches are real. Mermen, mermaids, mermen are real. But that's kind of where we're at. We know there's more out there because they sort of discuss it. They live in this. First of all, I had to. Okay, there's too many elements that were just right for me. I am so happy I read this book because I think I don't know, I was in the right frame of mind to accept it, to read it, and to enjoy it. So it takes place in this magical place called Freya Grove, South in New Jersey, the Jersey Shore. Hi, Gemstones, the Jersey Shore. Now, I grew up in South Jersey, going to the Jersey Shore in summer, and there is like they don't live very far from Atlantic City, so the magical town of Freya Grove. So they reference AC. That's what we'll call it, AC, Atlantic City, New Jersey. So it's like something you can get to. But if you live in down the shore, that's what we call it, the beach. No, some people say the beach. Most people is the shore. Do you have a shore house? You going down the shore for the summer? That's for spring break stuff. That's how I don't know. We talk like that. But anyway, and they do talk like this. Even the magical people. So, our dear character, our main character in this book, Lucinda Caraway. I love that name, Lucinda Caraway. Perfect name for your main character. They call her Lucy, and Alex is the love interest. So Alex is the childhood friend of Lucy, and Lucy is a school teacher, and she sort of, in my mind, I almost have her looking like, if you watch Abbott Elementary, um, Quinta Brunson. I think her name's Quinta Brunson. Am I saying that right? I think it is. I think that's her name. The lady that stars in writes directs for Abbott Elementary. Anyway, she kind of, the way they're describing her, like wearing like overalls and dressing kind of like a teacher. That's what in my mind I'm kind of getting like her vibes. Anyway, which I think she's adorable. She's cute, by the way. The actress and person, Quinta Brunson, assuming I'm saying this poor woman's name right. Um, but yeah, so this is how she's described. So basically, she's been living this sort of, she lives her magical life. There is no interruption of, oh, I'm a witch now and I understand there's magic in the world. She already knows it. She grew up that way. It's Lucy, her two sisters, and her cousin, which is very, it's kind of a very common thing in a lot of families, at least the families, my family, where your cousins, if they're close enough, are like your sisters, right? So she's like an honorary sister, although technically they're just cousins. But they all are witches. And there's the matriarch of the family, Nana. Nana passed away, and her parents are traveling. They're alive, but they're traveling. They're retiring, they're always on the road. So that explains where the elders are, who are a little bit more in the know about magic. So these sisters, an honorary sister, get together because their lives are just not going in a direction that they want. And here's why I love this book. This is why I think if you kind of ever felt this way, or if you're going through this now, I think it's a good book to read. Is their Nana, deceased Nana, told them basically they should always use their magic, use their power. If you're not using it, you're wasting it. So if you're a witch and you're not casting spells and you're not doing rituals and you're not infusing magic into your life, then guess what? You're wasting magic, wasting your power. So they sort of were they doing witchy things? Yes, business related. Like this Lucy is a school teacher, but she also has a little side hustle where she reads tea leaves. Okay. Um, the other sister does something I think with divination as well on the side, and the other sister kind of helps out, but wasn't really doing a whole lot. She's a chef, working at a restaurant. So they both wanted, all not both, and then the cousin, which that's a whole other story. She's um, in the process of planning a wedding. The book opens with her planning a wedding, her wedding, and she just wants things to go right for the wedding. So a wish is made. So they get out their family grimoire, which I love. So they get out the family grimoire, and these women, by the way, are all like maybe late 20s, 30 esque ish. Like everybody's pretty young. So they get out the family grimoire, and there's a spell. They had talked about it, but there was always this wish spell. So they did it. And I love a good book, a witchy book, where they talk about the magic in the book, but it's set in like modern times. But it's supposed to be believed that witchcraft is real. I love that. I love that. I'm trying to find because I highlighted it in the book. I'm trying to find where I highlighted it. I did not put bookmarks because I'm not home. If you know, I'm not home. I'm in North Dakota right now. So this spell, let me tell you what this spell, let's get into this wish spell. This wish spell is kind of the big deal in the book. So you need pomegranate seeds and hazelnuts, paper and pen. All of the girls do this at the same time. So you light some candles. They didn't say what kind. Write your wishes while the wax melts. So you light the candles first and you write out your wishes on that paper. Um, while the wax melts down the candle. Write down your wish in complete detail. Unscrew the jars with the herbs, and sprinkle the seeds and hazelnuts over the table. So you're working on a table. Um, they took a minute to consider their wishes. Then they lowered their heads to write. Um, and she scribbled, "I wish for excitement in my life." This is a kind of a big deal, and things kind of ensue after that. Be careful what you wish for, definitely in this book. She wished for excitement. Now, if it was me, I would not be a little bit more specific because excitement can mean a lot of things. Excitement can mean I don't know because a lot of things can be considered exciting that I actually don't want to invite in my life. So if you're watching this, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. Like I would be very careful. Let me pull that up. There we go. So you drip the candle wax over the most important words of the wish. So I guess in her case, excitement. So you would drip the candle wax over that word. Um, she said so that when Lucy's doing it, she let it cover the first words of her wish. The words were swallowed up and encased. She said, while the wax is warm, press your thumb into it on the paper that just dripped in. Um, Now fold the paper thrice while chanting these words. I wish, I wish, I wish. On the final I wish, extinguish the candle and let the smoke carry your wishes out to the sky. So maybe have a door, open a door, window, or something like that at this point. So of course I love this. I like when people kind of give the details of the spell. And this seems like you can work this. I've always kind of steered away from the term wish because I don't know, I don't really trust wishes. I would say I conjure maybe. Maybe I would do that. I conjure because it's something I want to bring in. I conjure, or something like that. I'm gonna probably, I don't know, or maybe I would try wish. I don't know. I kind of want to try this, by the way. So, after reading this book, and there was a lot that happened because of these wishes, by the way, it did not. I'm gonna just tell you now. Thing, it's a book, so of course there were some problems, but I think as real witches, you can fix that. You can, put some safety nets in. So they did the spell. So here's where it gets tricky from a writing point of view. I was very confused on Lucy's. Yeah, you can definitely work that spell. Right? That's a good spell. I definitely like that. There was another little nugget of information here I'm gonna get to in a minute that their auntie, and I love their aunt's name is Nisha. See, this is what I mean when there are characters written by a black author, black American author, and they're black American even though they're in this magical world in modern times. Because you're gonna get names like Nisha. My name is Nika, so that appeals to me. Now, yes, there's the other sisters, they got different types of names, but like the Auntie Nisha, I'm thinking Auntie Nisha's probably somewhere in my age category. And that makes sense because I come from a time where everybody was named Tamika, Nisha, there's a lot of Ishas and stuff like that that I grew up with. So that would make sense. Anyway, but yeah, so oh my God. And it goes on here. Oh, I want to talk about her wish a little bit more because I love what she was kind of saying. Um, so they all say I wish, and then they, blow out their candles. And then she said, oh, this is the extra step that she did because I want to get into what happened. So Lucy says she felt compelled to do an extra step. Now, there's another part to this where I won't tell the whole thing, but basically, one of those old timey, like at a carnival or at a fair, the fortune machine. So it's like some sort of statue or something inside of there, and it's like mechanical, and a fortune ticket spits out and it tells you your fortune if you put money in a machine. Y'all know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of movies that kind of are based on that, and the fortunes are real and everything goes crazy. Kind of little bit in this, but she has this ticket. There's more that happens right before in the first part of the book, but she has this ticket. And so she says she was the firstborn witch, a powerful and blessed position to have in a family, yet use magic sparingly. Lucy fetched the Madame Zora fortune in a shallow glass bowl. That's the fortune she got out. My lipstick is good. Thank you. It's, yeah. Otherwise, everything's very dreary here. And then I'm in brown. I was like, I need some color. So she wrote, and then she's thinking, let go of what scares you. Oh, that's okay. Hey, Dylan. Let go of what scares you. Seek the life you desire. She held the fortune over the candle until it caught on fire. So she didn't burn her candle out right away like the other ones did. She said it burned quickly. She watched it as it was devoured by the flame. Then she let it drop to the bowl and burn until nothing was left but smoldering ashes. And then she was thinking, and to herself, "So what do you want?" And I connected with this when, because I do this sometimes, like, "Well, what do you really want?" What, I'm thinking, I'll think like I'm thinking that thought. I'm asking myself, "Well, what do you really want?" Like when I set new moon intentions and when I'm trying to work a spell, like, what do you really want? You have to ask yourself that. It might seem obvious, oh, well, this stuff is happening and I need this money, or, I'm tired of sitting in the house by myself and I need to, make friends or need some, I want to meet somebody or somebody's. Um, yeah, but what do you really want that? Because you've set up a life where you're mostly isolated. So you have to kind of ask yourself, what do you want? So she says, "What do you want?" And this is what she says to herself: late night calls, kisses sweeter than honey, someone that will stir my soul, stupid inside jokes, fun dates, sharing hopes and fears to feel safe and secure, a space of my own. Feel the tip of fun. I've been looking to her probably at this moment. Oh, okay. I'm gonna come back to what you just said, Dylan. Anyway, so she says, in a long, steady breath, she smothered the flame until, after all that remained was a simmering curl of smoke that tickled her nose. So first of all, I thought that was really sweet. That section, right? Isn't that cute? Um, and the wish was cast. So here's where the author loses me. I am never quite understanding, but we don't really know what the other people's wishes are. Not really. And I'm like, did I just skip over and not read fast enough? The wishes of Eastwick conjure spell. Okay, right? You should steal that. It could be where first of all, I love this. And there's a couple more like nuggets of witchy information that just like casually is talked about in the book. I love when things like that happen. And gnomes are real, by the way, in this book, so I love that. And they're tricky, and they're a little tricky. Um, and houses have spirits, and they acknowledge it. Um, Lucinda is technically a cottage witch, because she keeps saying I'm a home witch. So same thing. And I think that's why, I don't know, I love this character so much and I like kind of how she gets down. And honestly, I think I have a little bit of Lucinda in me, where I get caught up in sort of my everyday. The reason she did is not that she's never experienced excitement in her life. It comes out. She did. She's traveled to the, other parts of the world when she was much younger, like right out of high school. And there was something unfortunate that occurred. She was fine. Uh, but, and I'm the first grandchild, I'm, the oldest, all of that sort of stuff, born to the oldest out of my grandmom's kids. So anyway, so she basically had this realization, or she put this responsibility on herself, that when she called home, "Hi, Theta Robinson." Well, to read this book, this is a good witchy book that looks, and the characters look like us. But anyway, so Lucy does some traveling, and something accident basically occurs, with some people she's with. She's fine, but when she calls back home to tell, at the time her nana's alive, what happens? And I relate to this. Like, she realized just how scared she was, and then it made her feel like, oh shoot, you know the world is scary, and I don't want anything to I don't want to worry my family. I know, it's important, that I'm a part of the family. And she just put a lot of unnecessarily you do this when you're young, you kind of put all this, inflate your responsibilities to your family, I guess. And on top of that, the love interest part comes in. Alex, who's a merman, which for some reason I love, y'all, the way they talk about "don't let baby fool you, I'm melanated too." Yeah. The way they refer to the merman, there is a scene where, as a merman, fast forward in the book, he decides to show his fish tail, his tail, they call it fish tail, his tail to her. And he lets her touch it. Now, she has known him since, yes, merman, that's what it is. She has known this guy since they were like teens in high school. He transferred it. He was always moving. Also, something that kind of struck me in this book. Um, They were his family, they always moved. They were just those type of people. They lived in a lot of different places. But the way the mermaids work in this universe, they're typically not, stay around kind of folks. They're charming. It's giving like siren energy. They're underrated and underappreciated. Well, they give a lot of, to me, a good enough lore to get it believable and get you hooked onto the book. Um, and a little understanding of like, okay, he's just not just some guy. There's a reason he does the things he does. There's a reason everything kind of has happened is the way it's happened. So they knew each other. They were friends in high school. They crushed on each other, but it never went beyond that. They went to prom together, and nothing more came of it. Of them. She wanted well, she was young. I mean, she had these impulses. She kind of liked him, but he made it seem like he just wanted to be her friend. And of course, and by the way, I love when you get that point of view where everyone's you get to I can't talk where you get everyone's point of view. That in the book like this is helpful. So we get to hear a little bit of Alex's thoughts. We hear his thought or read his thoughts as well. And Alex is like, "Hey, look, he grew up. If you go to he moved to like 15 different places growing up, and he was saying when you move that much, people look at you funny. So he doesn't really say what, and it's at the point once he's an adult, he doesn't even talk how many times he moved. But as a kid, like I think he said it was like 15 different times. And I understand that because when I tell people how many times I've moved, people you get to a certain number, people look at you funny. It was like, "Oh, were you in the military?" No. She just yeah, I don't wanna get into it. Yeah, we just moved around a lot. So we average probably, I wanna say 2 average, like, 2.5 years, and it felt like every 2.5 years, I moved. I definitely felt like a traveler spirit. It is honestly something I've been doing for almost 20 years. Actually, it was more than that because I was doing a lot of moving myself prior to. Um, Dang, I did move a lot. So I can understand his thinking, but he's a merman, and that's the root of where his thoughts are coming from. You basically don't really get attached to a place because there's a whole ocean, there's many oceans to explore. The other lore is that mermaids, the mer, moving houses, oh my God, yes, it's very stressful. At this point, I kinda got it down though. I legit I'm honestly it could be a career for me, um, because I've done cross country moves, local move like, I've done it. I've done so many moves, it's crazy, and just handling logistics, working with, like, company sponsored moves, or if you're doing everything yourself, and I've done all of those several different times. With kids, makes sense though, Aries fire movement, yeah. I fight now. And I realized the answer is to travel, by the way, not pick all my stuff up and move my permanent location. I just need to travel. It's okay. Which honestly, being here in this place that is, I realized about 3 hours from Canada that I'm in right now, um, fulfills that. I'm here to help my son because he had some surgery done, but and I'm here helping him recover. But just kind of being out and about when I run errands and do stuff like that is like it's so different from where I've been living. Like there's snow. It snowed a night ago. Um, so yeah, it's just a different world. But that's good for me, I think. Yeah, I know some people the way we talk about travel now, and it's about, oh, getting on a flight, going to someplace exotic, a beach, and all this sort of stuff, get your passport. And listen, I'm all for that too. But I do believe sometimes, I don't know, just drive to a different state. One of the advantages if you are in the United States, one of the advantages of being here is that our country is big compared to, like, other countries, and I don't think we understand it. So, like, our states, like, there are like, if you take, like, California and Texas, there are other countries, several countries that can fit on into the one state. So, we really do get this opportunity to go to these different places, and the earth looks different, the weather is completely different, the landscape is different, and that can give you perspective. um, and that's where I'm at right now, and I'm having a totally different, I don't know, it's altered my perspective, and I think that's good. So you know what, it doesn't have to be an exotic trip, but maybe get in your car, or if you're, if you're a driver, I'm trying to get to that point where I do day trips more. But get in your car if possible, and maybe just go someplace that looks different. Spend some time there, a road trip. Yeah. That's how I felt in New Orleans last week, and the road trip really fed my soul. Ooh, that's a good place to go to really kind of, but yeah, it's such a different landscape from your state, so it's going to look different. And it's hard, at least for me. I don't go into situations with a negative attitude, except honestly, all right, let me back up here. So to get here, I had to fly through Minnesota, Minneapolis, St. Paul Airport. And when I looked out that window, because I had a few hours layover, and I looked out that window, I was like, nah. So I immediately no. First, I looked like it was like flurries. Then it turned to rain, and it's like the snow that's piled up off the side of the road, and it's got that dirt in it. And it looked, it was cold because when I was at the gate, I wasn't even that close to the door, but the door was open. People were coming off, and a blast of frigid cold air. This is me just walking down the aisle, and I'm seeing people coming out their gate, me trying to get to my gate, and I was like, if this is cold and I'm standing here, no, no, nope, 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 nope. So yeah, I was a little negative about that. Plus, the people in it, and maybe I don't know if the people were from that area, but being in the airport, I saw so many weird things in that airport. Like, why are people wearing shorts? And of course, I'm nosy because I mean, if you're sitting there for hours, I'm gonna pay attention. So I'm like, why these men and the little teenage girls. And let me talk about the shorts. They had on the I call them Jack Tripper shorts because I'm from a different time. But you know what I'm talking about, them real high shorts, like and a sweatshirt. And I'm like, well, are they going someplace warm? But how'd you get to the airport like that? So you can't. Okay, so if you're going someplace, because they were in the gate area, so they're past security, so they're going someplace. But you arrived here this way. What is going on in Minnesota, y'all? But then I saw people getting off their flight in a pair of shorts and a sweatshirt. No coat, just what's going on? Was that a hot day to y'all? I don't know. But you know what? I changed my mind about that because I went out today, this morning, to run some, or this afternoon to run some errands here. And I'm in Minot, North Dakota. And I was hot with my coat on. It was like 36 degrees. I was like, dang, it's kind of warm. And people got light jackets on. I was like, I might just take my jacket off. I was like, I got acclimated here. It's been about a week. I've gotten acclimated to the cold. I remember freshman year of high school walking to school. Ooh, canceled it before Christmas break wearing shorts. You know what? I can't. Not the shorts. I want to go back and look at these comments. I have no desire to move to multiple times. Dylan says this is besides the point. But before the freshman year of high school, my mom and I moved to get away from my dad. Oh, but all three of us moved back to the original home. Moved twice before my crazy moves back and forth all over this country. I felt like I had a lot of like local moves, and at the time, like I was married, I moved because that didn't work out. Then we got back together, and then we found a place because if you're getting back together, you got to find a new place to live to start over. There's this new energy that you want, so you got to get a new place. If we got a new place, and then that didn't work out, so then I had to move and find another new place. Yeah, so I did a lot of moves prior to. Now that I think about it, I don't know what I got. I don't know. That's such is life. I don't want to say. I don't want to say I regret moving as much. It's kind of like actually Alex in the book. It just is. It just is. I'm just going through and make sure I didn't miss anybody asking or saying anything. But yeah, it just is. It's the life that you're in, and he has this saying. He says it repeatedly, like You know, basically don't try to own anything you can't pack up and put in a bag and go. So that's how he's lived his life. There's It's a problem living like that when with relationships. The good thing about him, and I'll just give you a spoiler. So they're high school friends and technically crushing on each other. And he leaves right after graduation. So they saw each other practically every day. They hung out, they studied for tests, they got along great. And he just left. He just left. And that broke her heart because regardless, that was her friend. And he just left. She invited him to her graduation party her family was throwing, and he declined the invitation and left. And she would like he would come. His parents still lived there, so also that was the interesting thing as well about the parents. They just, even though they were these sort of nomadic like people, because he's coming from a line of mermen and mermaid people, um, they settled in Freya Grove. They felt like that was where they wanted to be after years of raising their kids all over the place. Um, so he's like, okay, I think he's a little resentful. They don't explore too much of that, but to me, he seems like a little resentful of his parents because, they kind of want him to stay put. So this guy is like, he's like heavy on Instagram. He's popular. He's a photographer. Of course, as someone who travels a lot, have some cool job, right? So he's very attractive, of course, because the love interest always is. Physique is everything, and of course, he's out there in the oceans across the world swimming. So his upper body strength is everything. Um, they make a joke in the book because she's like obsessed a little bit with like his legs and stuff, and she's like trying to understand how. And he was like, I don't skip leg day. It's like a joke. Remember her wish about inside jokes. And that was another thing that came out in the book. I love this book. I love this story. It's sweet. By the way, it's very adult. There there are sexy scenes, male physiques. Yeah. There are very sexy scenes. I don't know about you. If you read romance, I don't I've read different over the years, different type of romance novels, and some of them want to throw a lot of, to me, it's like overt sex scenes where it takes away from the story, and it's like this basically is just porn. Listen, and I understand some people like that. That's cool. But I like a storyline. I want the story, and then you're rooting. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie. You're kind of rooting finally for these two to get together, and you're excited that they're finally, it's finally the moment, the kiss and the build up. And the author does a very good job of building us up, like to the point you the reader, like of just enough annoyance and frustration where you can't wait. You want to keep reading, so because it's coming. They can't resist each other. Um, but yeah, he comes back to Freya Grove because it's his birthday. His mother sends him like a message like, "Hey, I have a surprise for you. I got your gift." He's thinking, it's a birthday. It's his birthday. So, she's got some, "I need you to come here, blah, blah, blah." So he comes. Now he's been coming through at like 24, 48 hours at most. And then he dips. He sees Lucy in passing. He never explains why he just dipped like that when they were like 18. So now it's like, almost 10 years later. So he stuck around a little bit longer, but it has to do with her wish for excitement. Her parents, his mother, which we now know, some mermaids have visions, not all the time, and they can't do them on demand. And in his mother's, uh, from the way she talked about it, she had a vision, and she had to give him this gift. So he's sitting at dinner with his mom and dad, and he calls his dad Pops. I love that. And his brother. And she hands him something, his keys to a house. There is so much layer, so I'm telling you things, but it's so much more to it. And the author, it breaks it down, and it's like 300 plus pages in here. And she explains it, and it's worth reading every page. The story develops beautifully. Um, he gets a house, and there's stuff that comes with that. But the house anchors him to Freya Grove, and that's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. But the wish, Lucy's wish is part of that. And then we would learn at the end of toward the end in the story what the vision was exactly that his mom had and why she purchased that house. And that's a beautiful story too. So I won't give too much away if you want to read it. A couple other like witchy tips that I wanted to talk about is the Aunt Nisha. They're sitting at a barbecue, like a cookout situation. Love that. And they're all like they're a family of witches. So they have this cookout and the kids are playing with water balloons. The auntie is like threatening the kids. If you get somebody, you get that water, y'all could go play out front. But if you get something on somebody's car or you do something like that, she said she was gonna do something. So I like that. This is some auntie stuff. But where is that? I use my little highlighter as I was trying to read. I'm in the story and trying to like copy the notes as well. But she said, oh, she makes at the barbecue or cookout, she says to Lucy, the Aunt Nisha, she's like, oh, these kids are a handful. And she said, oh, well, we weren't. Lucy's like, oh, her and her sisters, we weren't, and her cousin, we weren't that bad though. And she's like, yes, you were. She said, I used to keep a little sachet of parsley in your book bags to protect y'all. And she says she would douse herself in lavender oil to calm her nerves whenever they came around. Seamlessly, witchy stuff. And I read that and I was like, first of all, facts. Because I have actually told someone in my family, I had given them something to use. I said, you need to put a little something in their book bags and and they're little kids, so it can't be loose. You got to sew it in. They can't see it because they're gonna take it out. I was like, one, it was like a crystal for protection, and I was like some herbs, and I was telling them how to, basically sew it in or hide it so they can't get to it, in the book bag for protection to protect the babies, um, because we need to protect these babies. There is so much going on in this book. In the midst of everything, there's a high school reunion occurring which prompts the wish spell for Lucy. But I talked about all the positive and wonderful things. So, because I like to be fully transparent, and when I read something, I really follow to see how the story develops. One, I like to learn. I learn from this. I can read craft books on writing books, but sometimes if you want to learn something, you just see how other people are doing it, right? I kind of alluded to it earlier. We never really and I went back. I was like, did I skip it? We don't really know for sure what the other people's wishes are, just kind of on the surface. So as the book goes on, and the story's developing, and Lucy kind of feels like this excitement thing, the wish for excitement is getting way out of hand, and she's being pushed into situations that she's not prepared for. But it's bringing excitement to her life, not just the guy, but like all this other stuff is occurring. And she's like comes back to her sisters like, so how's it working for you? And they'll answer, but it's like vague. I don't know, I feel like those characters needed to be a little bit more developed. And I know they're just her sisters, they're secondary, but I needed a little bit more character development because I did want to know. So the cousin, her name's Ursula, that's getting married now. I don't fully understand what's happening with her. I kind of reread a couple sections. She's planning a wedding. The soon-to-be mother-in-law is being one of those, overbearing types. We never see her or meet, or do we meet? I think we met her. We meet her once. Yeah, we met her once in the book, but she's spoken of, and it's just confusing because the spell kind of I don't know exactly what she wished for, but she basically starts acting like a bridezilla, but like real bad, real bad. And, I think she's compelled to just no matter what make the wedding happen. That was her wish. The wedding's going to happen. But there's some things that come out along the way about her and her soon to be husband. So the problem is if you make a spell, if you wish a wishing spell that you want that wedding to happen no matter what, That wedding's gonna happen no matter what, no matter if things change. And when it got really bad, when we're kinda at the climax with the wish spell, when things are kind of going berserk, um, they want to undo it. And here's the thing about wishes. They found a note that the grandmom wrote because they didn't see it the first time. They went back to their spell book, family grimoire, and it said that the wishes have to run their course. And I agree with that. You can't I've never heard anyone undoing a wish. You have to let the and they said a wish can last a day, it can last a couple hours, it can last for months, it can last for a year. It depends on what you wish for. Um, you have to ride it out. That's why you have to be careful what you wish for. That's where the saying comes from. Um, which to me is all about choices, life choices, right? Um, it's kind of a euphemism for that. Like, be careful how you set up your life. Be careful that the commitments and things that you make. My house in Indiana is the longest stint I've ever lived anywhere, but because I'm a travel nurse, it feels like I'm moving all the time. Well, every 3 to 6 months. Aha, yes, that a job that has you traveling can give you that. Is the mom's vision about seeing her daughter find a love and move into that house. So her mom bought it. Well, it's the mom of the merman. So the so she sees a vision for her son. Yes, she sees him settled with, a situation, and that's why she ends up going that route. So yeah. And that's revealed in the end. This sounds like a good read. It really is Empress Goth. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I highly recommend it. I like that there were different. You know what? I'm a fan of like those older rom-coms, like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, Made in Manhattan, Jennifer Lopez. Um, and then take it, Sandra Bullock. Oh dang, what was the one where her husband cheated on her? They were from like some town in the South, and the grandma was there. She had the daughter. Daughter wore the glasses. I love that movie. It has got a little whimsy and a little bit of magical beats in it too. I cannot remember it. And it's one of my favorite Sandra Bullock movies. Harry Connick Jr. is in it. If anybody knows, let me know. I love that movie. Anyway, movies like that. Um, of course, Practical Magic, which has a love story in it as well. Um, but those types of hope floats, yes, yes, I love that. And that has a bit of whimsy in it as well. This obviously kicks it up because it's very much in a paranormal category, but it's fascinating to see Black characters or read Black characters in one of my favorite genres in modern time, and they're likable. They're infuriating at times because they both you love all those movies. Yeah, those are I love those movies. So I'm somebody who grew up. I'm a girl who loves love. I like those types of movies. Um, I watched. Oh dang! It was with Renee Zellweger last night. She went to. Well, I cannot. And I've seen this movie like 3 times, and I just watched it last night. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the movie. But anyway, where she goes to this town to help a factory in Minnesota. and, yeah, and she falls in love with Harry Connick Jr. Again, another movie with him. That was a really good movie too. It's cute. I don't know. I've been in the mood to watch these types of movies lately. Um, but yeah, this gives me those vibes from those movies. But like I said, it's not that we didn't have because there are some movies that I could think of easily that have a black cast, and they were like the rom coms of the time. Vivica Fox on what is it? How it was Vivica Fox, Anthony Hamilton, Gabri- Gabrielle Union. What was the name of that movie? Y'all know what I'm talking about. It's right on the tip of my tongue. The planet Venus has been affecting you, probably. Yeah. Dang. Ah, I don't have my other phone. I want to search on that. I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the movie. That old movie, but I used to love that movie. Um, is how to all I'm thinking is How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, but that's not it. It's How to something. Oh, I don't know, I forgot, but anyway, Vivica Fox was kind of like, to me, the Sandra Bullock for a minute with the rom-coms and stuff like that. To me, I felt she really was, like that was kind of like she did a lot of those movies as the love interest, the main love interest. Um, she had her heyday with that, and I liked it, I bought it, I was into it. It's really messed up that as time went has gone on, like, you don't first of all, can we talk about that the acting in movies just feels different right now? There's this I feel like people are doing stage acting in movies and TV shows, so you're not in front. It's a different act. You act differently if you're with a live studio audience. Why do fools fall in love? No, no, that's a different movie. I know what you're talking about. Um, somebody to if when I'm done, I'm gonna just type it in the comments when I'm done if nobody gets it. But why do fools fall in love? It's something like that. It's not why do fools fall in love. That's the other Vivica Fox movie where it's based on that guy. It's like the biopic. The guy, whatever, Frankie something. Anyway, but I feel like the acting in movies has changed dramatically. It's like a Tyler, okay, like a Tyler Perry play. That's what it looks like. Acting looks like now. I don't know. It's weird. Where the films that I kind of came up with, like it's a different vibe. The energy's different. Like I don't know. I felt like you had like real actresses and actors in these movies. And when I say real, I mean people who might, yeah, they might have been a little nepotism and stuff like that. But I don't know, I feel like they actually gave something. I don't know, they cared about their craft and it presented better. How to Be a Player. Thank you, Olivia. Oh my God. I was like, it's how to something. It's how. Yeah, How to Be a Player. That was one of my favorite movies too. Then I didn't have a lot of whimsy or anything like that in it. But of the time, that was a good one. Um, I just wish we had more like that. But you don't see a lot of they're going to Netflix, but like I don't know, but maybe everything's changing. We're not seeing a lot of romantic comedies like we used to. Like that would bring us out to the movies uh once upon a time. And now I don't know. I don't know. I guess people are more jaded or it's a different type of hookup culture. People also I think have shorter like they're not interested. I'm thinking people are not interested in sitting in a movie as much. Obviously, not everybody, because most of us, a good amount of people still go to a movie. But it seems like there's been a shift in those who they would want to be bringing in. You're going to be wanting bring in your 20 somethings, maybe the late teens, the 30 something year old women for the chick lit stuff. Rom coms have a totally different vibe now. It's really sad. It is. Um, there's also I don't wa I also think we have those chronically online people who wanna find something, wrong with everything. So it's to appeal to them, if okay, if anyone has watched the Sex and the City reboot they did, the series, the show they did recently, I don't know if it's coming back. Big Di's in it. And one of the things that I was complaining about as well, and I had the same issue in the Charm reboot. It was a little too. They were so busy trying to be like I don't know, bring in like the notes that hit social activism and things like that, and I just felt like it felt performative and fake. I didn't believe it. Like just you can have the character, maybe having going to a rally, to protest something. Okay, we can do that. And that's just part of it. But like we don't have to make it a whole thing. You know what I mean? Get to the story. But we know that she will stand up for other people. We know that, she is for trans rights and stuff like that. We can understand that as the viewer. It doesn't have to constantly keep being brought up and bring in these other characters and not even fleshing out a real storyline. Just it's just in your face, so see, we're with this. We're into this. See, you can watch this. And it's like even the people, the chronically online people, They find fault with that, so they're gonna find fault with anything. So that's the whole I'm sorry about that. That's one of the issues. There's stuff that and it's funny because, Jennifer Aniston recently was, interviewed or something, and, she was saying most of the people who would have watched Friends in the age demographic, from when it was aired, they don't like it. They don't like that show. Um, Shoving political viewpoints down our throats, exactly. Um, they don't like it. They find it's cringe now, they say. That's, it's cringe now. And, I mean, maybe it is, but it was funny at the time. I hate to tell y'all that was kind of, those jokes landed because everybody was almost everybody was in agreement. Yes, as go on, you learn and you do better. Also, I think it's okay to have a sense of humor. And sometimes, I don't know, but I think that's just a generational thing, right? Because my generation, we tend the offbeat, we kind of specialize in the dark humor. um, Prime example, if things get too hectic, like really sad, I don't know, I can find something funny about it. And I noticed like comedians in my age demographic are the same way. I saw the creature from the Black Lagoon for the first time and it made my inner child happy. Cool. Your mama jokes, exactly. Like you don't now people are like, why are you targeting bullying my mother? It's like your mom's not even here. Technically, I'm just messing with you, but at your mom's expense. um, I saw something recently where she's youngish black girl was or woman, young woman said, yeah, we really need to do something in the black community. I think it was like a TikTok or something about, what they call the dozens. It's just mean. We're just saying mean things to each other. And I was like, and then there was another thing, someone was like, we need to get past, when we see young black girls dressed up saying, oh, you think you cute. And it's like, time out, context. Hold on. Before we literally throw the baby out with the bathwater, some of these things are not meant to demean or hurt. It is literally just part of the culture. And it's okay if it's not your favorite part and you don't like that. But not everybody is mean and trying to hurt your feelings. Yeah, there's a lot of jokes back then that would be considered racist, homophobic, etc. Right. But like but those sexist 9 times out of 10 with friends and shows like that, a lot of jokes, a lot of sexist jokes for sure. Um, Homophobic for sure. If we go back to that with Ross's character, he was clearly homophobic. And very and sexist. They all were. And like they would constantly struggle with like the too much hugging, they would get freaked out and stuff like that. But it was okay if the girls, you know, and that still happens today now. It's okay if the girls express, same sex desires or have those conversations, but if the guys could never, that's just horrible. Um, but I don't know. I think that we're at the point now where I think if there's nothing wrong with re-examining, and kind of opening up and looking at how we've been kind of conducting ourselves culturally, whether it's culture around, just your ethnicity or just our country, people in general, um, society. I mean, there's nothing wrong with examining it, but I don't know. I think we have to get to a point where there has to be context, nuance, and you know, the goal is not to be judge. I mean, who are it happened? It is. You can learn from it, and don't get mad at people because they still enjoy that stuff. Would you say? Like, I love Everybody Loves Raymond, and there are jokes that are leaning on the line, but I just think it was filmed in the 90s, 2000s. It's fine. Yeah, I could not. Okay, you know what? Everybody Loves Raymond. I watched it. I used to watch it for a little bit, but I couldn't keep watching it because it just seemed, what it got? Somebody got in my head about that show. So I remember I was dating this guy, and he said, that show Everybody Loves Raymond. It had been out for a bit at this point. It was like in reruns at this point, and he was like, I was like, yeah, and he was like, yeah. He said that is my nightmare. I never want to end up like that. I don't want that life. Like the wife always nagging and the demands of the mother and the brother you always got to help and the kids. He was like, I don't want that life. He looks miserable. If you ever determined living a life of quiet desperation, he was like, I don't want that. Like that's a night. He said that entire series, that TV sitcom, is terrifying to me. I never want to end up like that. And I was like, interesting. Once he said that to me, I could never look at that show the same because I was like, oh, but that also everybody loves Raymond to me is a nightmare mostly because of his parents, but his wife Deborah, that whole situation, like I don't know, but for me, that kind of refocused how I looked at all TV comedies, like with the taking away from that show, but like everything else that sort of came after that, where it was like the dumb husband and a very attractive wife, and how she took on a lion's share of like the house, the kids, and basically any major decisions she really needed to be involved because he was an idiot and could constantly set them back all the time. And it was, haha, it's funny, he's an idiot, haha. No, and he's constantly taking her for granted. It's like you have this woman who would never in any other place probably want you. But I do genuinely, all caps, love everybody loves Raymond. Listen, we all got our stuff. I love Friends. I really, really love Friends. And then I'm sorry, I'm not going to stop liking it. I still really love that show. Um, but yeah, and I think I don't know. Are we out of that phase now where we made the really idiot husband and very attractive wife? That's my thing. Is you make people hate marriage anyway. But once that guy said that, I started looking at those sitcoms, and I was like, yeah, I don't want that. I don't like that, but I do hate him being stupid and her being how you describe her. Yeah, like it sets the tone. I don't know if I a lot of TV shows and things like that, there's subliminal messaging happening. Um, I'll get a little deep, expand on this a little bit. So it's interesting because we see this. And by the way, this wasn't just with white characters, because if you George Lopez, it was on one of these airports. I don't know, somewhere I've been traveling. I saw George Lopez show. Um, where was I? Oh, the doc. Oh no, I was in the hospital. I was like, where was I? The waiting room in the hospital. They had that playing. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I haven't had a lot of sleep, but I did read this book. um, George. I have not seen a George Lopez show in a very long time, and I never really watched it that much, to be honest. It didn't really appeal to me. Anyway, but I watched it because I was stuck. And again, yeah, I did. I noticed that the whole dynamic, the same thing where he's like, can he be smart? Yes, but also it's like he thinks like this stupid person, makes stupid decisions for the family, and the wife is like the smarter, more evolved, emotionally evolved person, more educated and stuff like that. And then My Wife and Kids comes to mind. Lopez is in the new Blue Betty movie. Oh, okay. Um, My Wife and Kids was another one. I tried to rewatch that one. I think last year I saw it was in syndication on. I think it was Hulu. I think Hulu. Can't watch that. Art imitates life. Yeah. But let's talk about where we are now. We have a rise of women who are choosing to be single. We have more than ever so many men, young, young men who are not coupled, not married. We're seeing people not getting married as much. And I mean, it's enough that they're writing articles about this. This is touching, honestly, definitely in this country, but this was already happening in other countries too. They're starting to see this. But definitely, I can only for sure speak for this country. So I'm not saying we got to blame the sitcoms, but it didn't help. So there's real life. You're seeing the divorcing of parents happening, right? A lot more. What in the 80s, I think we were seeing more. They were making movies about divorce in the 80s. Kramer versus Kramer, like it was a thing, because before then you didn't have so much divorce happening. I was reading an article on Medium about this. Exactly. Um, so these it adds to the culture though, and the culture affects your psyche in the same way me reading this, right? It affects your psyche and it kind of sets expectations. You don't realize it about what marriage and relationships are. So there's the real life. You're looking around, everybody's getting, it appears most people are getting divorced and on second marriages. And then, okay, you're watching TV shows and it does not look appealing. It looks depressing. It looks burdensome. If you're the man, it looks like your wife is always going to be nagging you and you don't have excitement in your life. And it's, there's no sex because they're in the sitcoms, they're always talking about that, right? And then for the wife, it looks like she doesn't get any romance. She doesn't get a man who is emotionally intelligent. And she's doing the lion's share of all the domestic labor and the child rearing. And some of these on these TV shows, she's trying to have a career. She has aspirations. My Wife and Kids was a great example of that because I remember the mom wanted to go, Tisha Campbell's character, she wanted Jay, right? Jay. She wanted to go back to college. And she does go, but they show how he is just a jerk about it. He didn't really want her to go. He felt like he was successful. He had his own business, and he didn't want to be responsible for dealing with the kids. And it was, I didn't like that. I saw that episode. I was like, I can't watch this. I can't. This is pissing me off too much. I don't see the humor in this. Um, Hitting a little too close to home. I didn't see the humor. But yeah, I do think it affects, all of this. It adds to the culture. And these were a lot of these shows were long, long enough running shows. People watch them on repeat. It affects you. It affects you. But to wrap up with this one, that's why I'm a little bit more, I try to be a little more picky about the media I'm consuming, including books and fiction and things like that. I'm much more intentional. I tend to stay in the paranormal area genre because that's me. Um, I don't really do fantasy so much. I don't find that as appealing. I call Everybody Loves Raymond a boomer show because of how their marriages are in the show. Yeah, but they set that for a lot of people it was a blueprint. If you were a child of divorce, especially as a young person, as you got older, you might not even really remember, or if your parents were never even married. Um, those shows were the blueprint for a lot of us. I didn't grow up in a married household, so those TV shows were the blueprint. That's I'm glad I still had the early childhood memories of. Believe it or not, I used to watch the reruns of Leave It to Beaver. I find that, like, as a kid, what you would say aesthetically pleasing, I did find it aesthetically pleasing. I'm looking at this household and how everything was clean. She had her pearls on, hair was, laid. She was sharp every day. June Cleaver, you know. And honestly, if the kids got too out of hand, she didn't even really have to deal with. She just told their dad. I assume he was beating them kids. I don't know. They didn't show that part, but that's basically what it felt like. And I was like, oh, okay, so good. Like, June Cleaver living okay, but we never knew that. June Cleaver could have got slapped around too in the background, but we wouldn't know that. Dick Van Dyke, uh, Bewitched, um, and the Brady Bunch, right? So I saw that sort of stuff um, coming up too. So that was an interesting dynamic. And then fast forward as I get much older, I'm seeing these other TV marriages, and it's like, everything's more relaxed. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like is there maybe there's something better. I would love to get good enough. Maybe I could write something. I never thought about writing for TV or a movie before. I don't know. Maybe if you want to see the stories, right? Maybe you have to create them. I don't know. Maybe that's something I should look into, learning how to script write and stuff like that. That would be because I want to see like this, where the world. By the way, there's nothing political happening in here. Are these characters black? Yes, that is not the point of the book. Yes, because I'm a black character. I'm a black, independent, strong woman. We're not, that's not what this is about. She is a school teacher. It made me think of Janine and Abbott Elementary. It really did. Kind of like when you if you watch that show, Janine's character is not walking around, I am a black woman in Philadelphia school system, but I'm black. Like that's, and honestly, most black people, I think it would be weird as another black person if I'm talking to you and you were also black and you constantly keep bringing up that you're black to me, that would be odd. Um, so yeah, these characters, that's not what it's about. It comes up when like they're describing how they look and stuff like that. And there's certain nuances, like I said, the naming conventions, how they name um it flows easy. One of my favorite episodes is when Ray and Deb need to find a house and Ray gets a map and circles the area where his parents live and says this is the zone. Oh, that sounds familiar. I think I remember that episode. I did used to watch it and then I couldn't watch it anymore. Um, but yeah, this is a good read. If you pick it up, come back to this video if you want and comment. Then drew two bigger circles to the larger circle says overnight guest, middle is better. um, let me know. Or if you are in the Discord channel, a safe place for witches, you can always circle back and let me know about this if you pick this up because I'd love to know what other people think about it. I got it at Barnes and Noble. Um, and it was marked down at the time, I think. But yeah, it's a good one. Pick it up. Definitely add this to your witchy library. It's modern. Um, I don't feel like my only negative is I don't feel like the secondary characters were fleshed out enough, like their wishes. I never really understood where the haphazard wishing issues occurred with them outside of the one cousin. I just added to my audible library. Yes. Please let me know once you get into it. As you read it, you can tell me too. You don't have to finish it all, but you can get to certain points. um, but yeah, that was my only. And by the way, if you read it, you could maybe I just missed it. Maybe I was too sleep deprived to miss that section or something. But I went back and I kept trying to understand a little bit more because I was trying to understand, did Lucy's wish go a little more wonky because she added that extra element of using that ticket because she felt compelled during the performing the spell to do this extra burning thing? I don't know, but I'm gonna use that spell, that wish spell. I don't know, maybe I'll try the wish part. I stay away from wish. As a witch and you're writing spells, usually we're kind of guided to, oh, you don't want to wish, you want to, make it a statement like it's really happening. But the context of that spell, I think it might work. A wish spell. All right, so I'm gonna get out of here. Thank y'all for watching and interacting with me. I appreciate it. I am gonna make a fun dinner here and chill for the rest of the evening here. I'm 2 hours ahead here than what I'm usually, so my sleep has been a little weird, but that's okay. Um, it's cold for the most part, though. It is cold here, but it's been getting nicer, and I'm happy to be around my son. I'm just happy to be in his company and hang out in his house. This is my first time being in his spot, so thank you, Dylan. You too. Yeah, this is everybody have a great rest of the day. All right, so I will see y'all soon. All right, bye.